and we establishing that we do have a quorum, I will call to order the March 3rd, 2022 meeting of the Extension, Education, and Economic Development Committee. So the first item on the agenda is our public comment period. I did not have anyone approach me for public comment. Anyone approach staff? And is there anyone on the line who is intending to participate as part of public comment? Hearing none and having none confirmed, we will move forward. So item 3 is approval of the February 3rd Extension, Education, and Economic Development Committee minutes. Are there any comments or corrections on the minutes as presented? Otherwise, I would accept a motion for approval. We have a motion to approve by Supervisor Rosenberg and a second by Supervisor Seefeld. One last call for any comments or corrections on the February 3rd meeting minutes as presented. Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Item 4 on the agenda, policy issues for discussion. There are none this month. Item 5 on the agenda are operational functions as required by statute, ordinance, or resolution. We also have none this month, so we can quickly move on to item 6, our educational presentations and outcome monitoring reports. So under item 6A, we are going to have an update on childcare challenges and opportunities in Marathon County from our representatives from Child Caring, Inc. And so as this committee is aware, the last couple of months, committee members have expressed an interest in getting a better sense of the child care situation in Marathon County, knowing that this is, appears, and I think we can say is, a big impact on both the education and economic elements in our county. And so today we have representatives from one of the main business organizations in the area that really has a good pulse on what's going on. So I will let them introduce themselves. So if you would like to take the stage here, thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. How is this hearing me wise?
Should be good.
Is that okay?
Chris will pull it up in just a second.
Okay. Well, good afternoon. I'm Kelly Borchert. I'm the Executive Director of Child Caring, and I have along with me today Mickey Krieger. She's our Assistant Director at Child Caring. And years ago, some of you might find our organization familiar. We were called Child Care Connection at one point, and our office was just down the road here for a long time, and then we changed into serving more counties and changed our name, and now we're Child Caring Incorporated. And really, as you notice in this first slide here, our mission is to enhance and support a quality early childhood education system by providing resource and referral services to families, child care programs, and communities. So we're supporting families in their search for quality child care. We support area child care programs, and then we also support communities by creating awareness about the importance of quality early care and education. And as you can see by that first slide, our vision is for all central Wisconsin children to benefit from the best child care possible. To give you a brief snapshot of some of our services, we provide referrals to families who are in need of child care. We also have resources and tools like checklists and brochures and things to help families choose a good child care provider for their children. We implement YoungStar. That's a relatively new quality rating system in the state of Wisconsin for child care programs. So we have people in our office who go out and do consultation and rating with area child care programs. We offer additional technical assistance and training to child care programs. If you didn't know this, child care providers who are regulated are required to earn a certain number of continuing education hours, and we are an organization that offers that to child care programs. We have a great newsletter and email listservs that go out to all the child care providers, and we also have a good number of community organizations and others who are a part of our listservs to keep them updated on what's happening in childcare. We're super excited that in Marathon County, we offer Good Start grants, and I'll talk just a little bit more about those in a second. We have a scholarship aid program. We're a huge resource for people who want to get started in the field of early childhood. We offer grants and sessions for folks who are interested in becoming a childcare program. We have different statistical data that we're able to pull up around average rates, how much childcare is available, et cetera. And in some communities, we also do a little bit more parent-focused education through cafes. And as you can see on the right-hand side of the slide, we're supported through the state of Wisconsin, through the Department of Children and Families. We happen to be United Way Partner Program in Marathon County and a few other counties. We have private contracts and donations and other foundational funding that we receive. And our budget right now is about $1.5 million across 10 counties in central Wisconsin. I'm happy to entertain questions or comments as I'm moving along too, so don't feel like you can't interrupt me if I say something that you want more clarification on. Currently, this is what we're looking at for numbers in Marathon County for childcare. We currently have 93 regulated childcare programs with a capacity to serve 3,336 children. So when we talk about regulated childcare, we're talking about certified or licensed family childcare providers, so people who do care out of their homes. Any group childcare centers, preschool programs, before and after school programs, any of those regulated programs would be included within this count. Interestingly, people who are directors and teachers, you can see the wages that they earn, $17 to $12 an hour. In 2020 and 2021, Child Caring provided child care referrals to just over 700 families who were looking for care. And here's where I wanted to just be sure that you are all aware that we offer a program that's funded through several different sources here in Marathon County. Our Good Start Grants program helps families who are in need of child care. It helps to support them in paying for child care. So a huge benefit to families is our Good Start Grants program. Because if any of you have had experience with child care and having to purchase child care or have grandchildren in care or know people in child care, it's extremely expensive. So we're talking about one child in Marathon County for full-time child care is going to probably cost you more than $10,000 a year. When you've got two children in care, you know, you're talking about $20,000 a year in child care costs to have them in full-time care. Interestingly, the next slide really talks about that affordability issue as well. So this is a range in Marathon County, anywhere between $153 and $237 a week per child. When you look at the graphs, the differences that you see in like the blue and the green or the under two section is the difference between a family child care provider and a group child care center. So remember, family child care are people who offer care in their home versus the centers are a larger facility where care happens. Usually kids are mixed by ages, and in family child care there might be a mixed age group of kids there. But in family child care, you'll notice those are slightly lower rates. So for example, a baby or under age 2 child might be $168 a week for family child care, whereas we're talking about $237 a week in a group child care situation. You can look across those scales and in that chart, but the big thing to point out here is that the average cost of public college tuition in Wisconsin is $8,550. And I just don't think a lot of people are aware that childcare is more expensive than college tuition in the state. And it's like that everywhere, really. It's not unique to Wisconsin, but when you put it into that perspective, it changes the way that you look at that. If you see the piece right next to the chart, it says a family with a child age 0 to 1 receiving care in group child care will pay 3 times the affordable amount. The federal government defines affordable care as no more than 7% of a family's yearly income. So that's a really interesting statistic to really think about how expensive childcare is for families. So when we talk about the childcare and what's happening with childcare, we're often address affordability, availability, quality, and then the workforce. And so this slide represents the availability of childcare. Again, we talked about in Marathon County, there's 93 programs that are regulated. This shows you a chart of just back from 2012 to 2021. And we've experienced a 50% decrease in the number of regulated childcare programs in this county specifically. And 50% of the zip codes in Marathon County are what they consider a childcare desert. And they're really areas with little or no access to childcare. I think where we've seen the most significant loss in childcare programs is around family childcare providers. There's just a large amount of turnover in that job. It's a hard job, right? Like caring for kids all day, long hours, you're by yourself and isolated. I think that's where we see a greater turnover. So just, thinking about this in terms of how many slots have we lost, we've lost over 1,000 childcare slots over the last decade or so. The next slide addresses the childcare workforce. So these are the folks that are working in care in centers or work within family childcare programs. We also give you another bit of a breakdown of those regulated childcare programs. You can see that 24 are group centers, 50 are family childcare programs. We have 6 preschools, and there's 13 school-age programs in Marathon County. 48% of these childcare programs actually earn a 3, 4, or 5-star rating within the Young Star Quality Rating and Improvement System. It's a 5-star scale. So nearly half are earning at least 3 or 4 or 5 stars. And to reinforce this idea about the childcare workforce. So we all know that we have issues in finding employees, workers. There's a huge issue in finding enough qualified people to work, at business places, right? And it's the same, if not more significant, in childcare. And we wanted to make sure that we listed some of the reasons why we believe this is the case in childcare specifically. And you can imagine low wages and very few benefits leads to that. There's been a much greater shift in the state of Wisconsin to offer more 3K and 4K programs through the school districts. And so then we see that affecting childcare workers because they're paid more and they have more benefits in the public school systems. There's been an increase in regulation and high quality standards in the state. Not a bad thing, right? We really want to protect young children and make sure that they're well taken care of. But there is this true lack of value and respect for the early childhood profession that I think anybody that has been in this field for a long time can share stories with you about how that feels to have some people believe you're just a babysitter when we know that people have taken great strides to be educated and have a lot of really great skills to be able to care for young children. There's a true cost of care. The true cost of care is the difference between what it really takes to provide a high quality environment versus what families can afford to pay. There's this threshold of thinking that families can pay more than $10,000 a year, and yet that's only allowing the teachers to make $12 an hour. And then we've seen what was a problem before the pandemic lead to a much greater problem, and we're hearing about it in the news and through media sources that there's a child care shortage because there's been shutdowns, closures due to the pandemic with COVID rates and such among the children, the families, the teachers. Next slide. I think this is becoming more well-known to people that everybody should be paying attention to what's going on in early childhood because it has such implications about what happens to kids as they become older. And so these are just a couple things to point out, just to think about that when kids are in high-quality early childhood environments, there's greater learning readiness. They're ready for school. They have better social skills. They're being held back in school less. There's less use of special education. They graduate from high school. They earn higher wages. There's just a myriad of reasons why it's so important to pay attention to kids when they're young. And I think we're doing okay with time as I look. A couple things that we wanted to make sure to point out to you. So we explained that the pandemic has made the childcare situation quite difficult, and the state of Wisconsin has dedicated a lot of their ARPA funding, their CURSA funding, some of that federal relief monies to childcare programs. And a couple of opportunities that we have come under this new initiative called Project Growth. And there are two programs under Project Growth. It's an opportunity for businesses to become more involved in their employees' childcare situations. And so with Partner Up, it's a program where businesses could help to secure childcare slots for their employees, and the state would pay 75% of the cost of those slots, and the business would kick in 25%, a minimum of 25% of those slots. It's a program that Child Caring, we're specifically involved with that program. We just hired a business advocate person to work in cooperation with area businesses and childcare programs. The application period is open. If you have people that have questions or have more interest in this, we're happy to talk with them. Another really exciting program being offered through this initiative is called Dream Up, and that's where communities can come together, have a core team of people, and this program would help support them with some strategic planning and supply building and some grant funding towards that. And that's another application process that's open already and will close in April. And just wanting to point out that the next slide is, there's some webinars. One just occurred, but next week there are several webinars to talk more about these exciting projects. It seems like an awful lot of information to throw at you in a 20 whole minutes. I'm happy to entertain questions or comments.
Well, thank you very much, Kelly. That was excellent, and I'm going to guess there may be a couple of questions from the committee. Is there anyone who would like to ask questions about the information? Supervisor Rosenberg, and then Supervisor Seefeld.
Oh, now I forgot what I was going to. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. As the pandemic is kind of winding down, is it more easier to hire people to come in for childcare now than versus a year ago?
I would say that yes, it's getting a little bit easier. And the one thing that we didn't mention is that there's also some additional support that's gone directly to the childcare programs as a result of the pandemic that is providing them some temporary support to help with staffing and some of the other quality initiatives and things like that. So it's called Childcare Counts, and that is helping to alleviate some of the workforce issues. But we did see, just boy, when the pandemic hit, there were lots of people that, for a variety of reasons, might have health issues themselves or just found it difficult to go into classrooms to work with children during that time that just quit, right? There was a lot of people quitting during that first part. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I guess I see this availability of regulated childcare, and I was expecting to see it drop off a cliff with the COVID, but it's really on the same bad glide path going down. It doesn't really change that much. A little more, but it's been on that path for quite a while.
Exactly, it has. And if we put the years previous to that, where we saw it significantly drop was like 2009, 2010, when the economy sort of took a dive. That's where we really saw. When Mickey and I can attest that when we first started with this organization 15, 20 years ago, we had over 1,000 childcare providers in our service area. We have like 300 some now. That's a significant decrease. So you're right, yes.
Well, just as a comment, the other piece that sort of bothers me is that if I wanted to raise successful adults, and I wanted to spend my money, assuming that it's quality, I would be spending it 0 to 5 more so than in elementary and high schools or that's where I can make the most difference.
Exactly, there's so much a higher return on investment in that age group.
But we don't pay anybody there, we don't recognize it. And it's a shame. It's hard for me to, we have our priorities screwed up. I don't know how you change it.
I appreciate that comment. We feel the same way. It's hard to change that. It's hard to move that in another direction. But you have to do it collectively, I think, by working together, for sure.
Well, I always find that that comparison of the tuition versus childcare costs to be very powerful, and your comments there, Supervisor Rosenberg, about how you actually probably have a bigger impact on individual's life at that time, which you could argue is why it's worth paying the extra money, except that that's also the time in life when families are least likely to have the financial resources in order to do so versus having 18 plus years to either prepare or to get the kids old enough to write their own scholarship applications like mine currently is. So yeah, it's quite the conundrum, and there isn't, historically there has been a perception that when you are watching children, you are babysitting, you are not teaching, and they're just little kids, so how hard can that be? So they get $12 an hour, and the professors at the college are bringing in plenty more than that. But it does feel that there's at least, even doing presentations like this to help raise that awareness and help having us as the committee have this information that we can then take out and share and try and in our circles start to have that impact. That's why this is going to be important. So, any comments or questions from our supervisors that are joining us remotely? I'm not here. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Oh, maybe not. What about from staff, administrator? Is there any addition? I know that you and your team have been doing some looking into this. Is there anything else that you'd like to add? Or I believe you were at some of these meetings that we've had.
Actually, I can, Nora, if you want to add kind of what our next steps are, but we have been meeting, as I referenced previously, with the City of Wausau, North Central Technical College, DC Everest representatives, as well as the City of Wausau School District representatives. And, again, evaluating what are those next steps. I know Nora's been working with Liz Brodek and certainly has been speaking with Kelly and Mickey. So, Nora, if you wanted to add anything?
Yeah, so we created a core group and then we'd report back to the bigger group, but based on our last meeting, we are looking into I believe the Dream Up grant, which involves like where the local government or, beyond childcare providers or businesses, which is the Partner Up. And we're looking into that. We're trying to look into what areas right now would be like a good option for the grant process. I know we've exchanged some emails about some data and information, and we hope to meet and expand our stakeholders to include other members of the community and really have that kind of collaboration ahead of applying for the grant, if obviously that is the pathway that
Well, I'm glad to hear that the county is a part of that session. Do you have a sense of the potential direction or out? I know it's a little early. I don't want to hold you to anything, but maybe to give us an idea of what could potentially come out of this effort, and maybe what future role the county or members could expect to see.
Well, I'll give you my 2 cents, and then certainly whether Nora has anything else or Mickey or Kelly. I don't have any clear answer as to what the county's role could be. One of the things that I think I shared the last time we met was, the county, through a lot of our facility renovation work that we're doing, we do have some potential available space that, I've asked our facilities director to put together, what space may be available for consideration for a delivery of childcare. I think in talking with the school districts, I know in talking with Dr. Hiltz from the Wausau School District, they're much more comfortable in the space of trying to recruit childcare educators, because that's really what we're talking about when you're talking about childcare. I think it's nice to, flip yourself from, as you referenced, Chair Guild, from this mentality of, hey, we're watching kids, we're babysitting, to no, you're working to educate young people. And that's something that the school districts would have much more experience with. And then also when you look at North Central Technical College, perhaps the UW system, that they have much more experience in the area of, creating a pipeline of future educators and how training opportunities. The school districts have that as well, if there are high school students that are interested in getting into that field. So there's a lot of potential areas where individuals can contribute, but what exactly the county's role is going to be in the future, I'm not sure. I don't know, but that's part of the conversation we need to have. I don't know, Kelly and Mickey, if you had anything else you wanted to say?
Well, just that I think the Dream Up grant itself is really about strategic planning and making a plan to solve some of those childcare issues. So it makes sense for us to pay attention to that, as well as to continue meeting and, communicating together about working on the issue. I think is super important to this community and this county. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And I think that it feels to me like we're on the right track about being a part of the early conversations. And I say that with a little bit of tongue in cheek, because the fact is these conversations have been going on a long time. I mean, we were talking about this when I was working 2 jobs ago, trying to figure out some solutions in this region. But it feels like it's almost a restart post-COVID. So many factors have changed in the last 2 years that the environment that we had prior to COVID, while the issues are still there, we are continuing to see the reduction. The resources and the interest has shifted in a way that we didn't see previously. And that gives us a new environment for us to maybe get some real tangible outcomes with new partners that might not have realized the value previously. So hopefully that will continue to be the case, and we can continue to be part of that. But is there any other comments from committee members, either on the presentation or perhaps information you'd still like to know, to hear about, or to request that staff bring back at a future meeting? Otherwise, I'm sure they'll bring back information once it becomes relevant to the committee again. Okay. I'm getting an agreement from those that are here in the room and silence from those that aren't, so I'm going to assume agreement all around. So thank you very much, Kelly and Mickey, for all of the work that you put into being here today and everything you've been doing all of these years to move this issue forward. I can tell you they are huge champions for this and have been for years, so they are part of a lot of good people that are going to move some stuff ahead for the county. So thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. And just an additional reminder for those of you that are joining us remotely, I know they included in our packet copies of some of their brochures. Here at the meeting, they did bring in some items in person And if you would like any of those, I'm going to assume that we can get those to you. If you shoot an email to me or to the administrator, we can coordinate that. So, and with that, I will move forward on the agenda. So we are now on to item 6B, our reports from our committee-affiliated departments. So first on the list is 6B1, Marathon County Public Library. And I believe Leah is joining us remotely. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Guild. I submitted my report to the committee, and everyone should have that available. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer or give further details. Other than the report, a couple of things of note. I'm happy to report that we completed, submitted, and had approved our annual report that we send to DPI every year. And I think Lance mentioned that I should bring up, we have a new vacancy on the library board and several prospects that we're excited about potentially also serving on the board. And we are still currently hiring a library services manager, which is what my job was previously. So I'm currently doing both jobs. We are not being reactive, and we're being very thoughtful in our hiring process, and we're looking for somebody that fits our values and our culture and exactly what we're looking for. So we're going to be reposting that position. Once again, if anybody knows any MLIS degreed librarians that have leadership experience, please send them my way. Also, we're getting into high gear. We've just started the next cohort of Lena. So that's exciting, continues on. And we're planning some really fun programming for the summer library program coming up. And we intend to do outdoor in-person programming as soon as weather allows. So with that, if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you. Any questions from committee members regarding the library updates? Does not sound like it, so I appreciate you letting us know about the opening on the library board. And as a former library board member myself, I'll definitely keep my ears open for who I think might be some other good candidates, but it sounds like you've got a few already in the queue. How long will the opening be promoted to the public before making a selection? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I think that that's probably up to Lance, who does our actual library board selection. He recently gave us a link to pass on to those interested parties to fill the position. And I don't know. Lance?
Sure, sorry, I was having a side conversation, so I infer that the question is, when is that appointment going to be filled? My inclination was to announce it, as Leah did today, just to this committee, to let them know that if they do have anyone who is interested, that they should go and utilize the link that is available on the county website. If you go to the county board page, you can have individuals that are interested in any of the various committees, commissions, or boards within the county fill out a statement of interest and provide an explanation for their interest in a particular committee, and link their resume to that form so that I can then, as I frequently do, provide that information to the county board of the individual that I select to move forward for consideration to the board. I was also intending to make an announcement at the full board meeting, at your informational meeting, to let the board know that there was a vacancy, and that if they had any individuals that they would like to be considered for appointment, to have them seek to utilize that link again, and then I would make my recommendation to the board for consideration at your April meeting in connection with all the other appointments that the new board will be considering in April.
Perfect. That sounds like a great timeline to give ample opportunity while still ensuring that we've got somebody in there once the new board all comes on. So, all right, one last call for additional questions. Okay, I think we are good for this month, so thank you very much, Leah.
Thank you.
All right, then we will move on to item 6B2, our MCDEVCO update. And Kim, are you still with us?
Yes. So really excited to talk through some of these items today. First and foremost, we're still administering micro business grants through Marathon County and City of Wausau CARES funds. So we'll continue to offer those in the community. I have a little update here in our gap financing. I have been really focused on education for this, and a lot of the education that I've been providing and one-on-one or info sessions I've been hosting have actually been with financial institutions within Marathon County. Even ensuring that I hit outliers such as Medford, Athens, been connecting with Cronin Water. So a lot of what I've been doing in that space is educating the financial institutions. Of course, always educating business owners, but the best way for us to ensure that the funds move into the community within 2022 is to really get in front of some of those folks that have the deals in their hands now, while we still mentor and foster the education and development of those new businesses that might be a couple years out. We have to balance that, but really my focus and strategy for ensuring those gap funds reach the community and help develop is through the financial institutions. Entrepreneurial development. So there's two facets to this. We host the EEC. Tenants here at the incubator, MCDEVCO's role is to manage the leases and the occupancy. When I started in late October, we were at 68% occupancy, and we will be trending to 77% by March 1st. So that's really exciting. We're 100% full in manufacturing with all space accounted for, and our offices are filling quickly. The exciting piece with that is I'm able to work with my manufacturers to transition them also into an office space. Since I am full in manufacturing, it's a really great solution. And we're working to tailor some of our educational programs to things that our entrepreneurs within the EEC are asking for, such as sales training and some of those other pieces as well. I did want to share that we're in the process of finalizing our educational calendar for 2022. We have already done some events this year, but our finalization will happen in the next month. There's a lot of coordinating with the mentors and business owners that teach our courses, so we want to be mindful of their schedule while also not reinventing the wheel and taking on space that someone else is already working on. So you'll see a lot of the focus from us in the 16-week Gears program, leveraging some partners in such as Q Up Success to do some specialized training, but I'm very excited about that. We just finished our Lunch and Learn Women Entrepreneurial Panel Series. And in March, we're hosting the Own It, Grow It campaign. So I have some new evolutions to talk about in terms of the youth entrepreneurship education that we've been offering. So this is a program that was implemented to take place over spring break. So I've partnered with Wausau, DC Everest, and the outlying school districts, as well as the Boys and Girls Club, to ensure that we provide transportation to the youth entrepreneurs age 12 to 15 that want to join us for this really exciting event. What I'm most excited about that's come from this event is the partnership with the schools. So recently, DC Everest and I've been speaking to their youth entrepreneur classes. They will be taking a field trip out here to the EEC to see what we offer. I will be a judge on their Shark Tank, and we're talking about me teaching this course in their classrooms next year. It's going to be a little bit easier if I go to them versus providing transportation. So I'm very excited for the potential opportunities, not just with DC Everest, but I feel like there's a template provided where MCDEVCO can be a really good add-in to the youth entrepreneurs in the schools and have a presence to really impact those students. So that's been really fun and where I've been spending a lot of my time this week. So very, very honored to hopefully impact some young youth entrepreneurs with what we do in MCDEVCO. Let's see, last but not least, municipalities. We're working on a FAM developers tour in partnership with Centergy. So we're going to be hosting very similar to what they've done in Appleton. Some developers from all over the Midwest will be coming, and I'm working with the municipalities to get some TID and TIF districts that are infrastructure shovel ready. We'll be showcasing on the tour. MCDEVCO is going to do a presentation to welcome them to Marathon County, and we're going to be highlighting different sites throughout our region to ensure that a potential developer may want to come in and take some of that land and positively impact where we live, work, and play. So our new website for MCDEVCO is also going to launch next week, along with a press release about my position. And I think it's going to be a really exciting time for us to kind of we're the same organization we were before COVID, but much like you guys have talked about, it's a really exciting time to reinvigorate a lot of the core values that we have and what I'm very passionate about, having grown up in MCDEVCO myself. So that is really all I have for a very brief but long update. Do any questions?
Thank you very much, Kim. Any questions from committee members on the update? Well, I want to say I'm really pleased to see that you are going to be part of the tour with Centergy. One of the things that I know we've talked about and that I've been always a little concerned about is it didn't seem like there was anybody who was really taking the reins to showcase what our economic opportunities are, especially outside of the Wausau area when there are site selectors. And so that knowing that we are finally taking some steps on that is huge. And I will also say I was teaching JA yesterday at DC Everest and found your flyers in the classroom that I was teaching in. So it's definitely out there. So that's great to see.
Cool. Cool. Well, Jim Dahlgren said he misses having you as his partner. So yeah, I had a great time in his class. And I think that's something we're going to look to do as we move forward. So.
Excellent. Well, I think you and I definitely need to follow up and have that meeting we keep talking about trying to have one of these days. But I know that you've got to head off to another meeting here momentarily for that educational conversations. So I'll do one last call for any comments regarding the MCDEVCO updates. Otherwise, thank you very much, Kim, as always, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good. And just a friendly reminder, some of you are on my board, March 21st, 4 o'clock, board meeting at the EEC. So I hope to see you there. Thank you so much. I'm off to another info session.
All right, thank you, and thanks for the reminder. So.
Yep, bye-bye.
Okay, then on to item 6B3, our UW-Madison Division of Extension. I see Jason's all ready with his microphone here, so I'll pass it over to you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Chair Guild. I want to take a quick moment to go back to the representatives from Childcare. Inga, I did mention they were here, but we actually have an extension staff member that serves on their board, Nancy Vance out of our Clark County office, and we have staff that are actively engaged with them on their education series that they're offering for childcare providers, and Jackie Caratini has done some mental health training with them. So we are in that space, and so it's nice for you to see the work that they're doing too, and we're working in concert with them when we can to give them the resources that they need as they're helping their child care providers. So, and also the extensions involved in some of the entrepreneurial pieces, which we talked about at the last meeting with child care providers, and I think that has momentum with some of the things that they presented in extension being brought into those spaces at times too. So just something to add to that dynamic there. So I'm excited to announce that Holly Lurson started in our office on Monday. She's our new 4-H program educator. She comes to us having spent the last 3 years as a 4-H staff member between Lincoln and Langlade counties. She's a 4-H'er, life 4-H'er, and has been an educator. So we're somebody that's on staff that is hitting the ground running, and leaders meeting the other night, 4-H leaders meeting, and a lot of programming already in the works with summer camp and moving those things forward. So we're happy to have her on staff. The other thing that you don't see in your packet is that I mentioned this at the last meeting, we have our 4-H associate educator position. It's a brand new position for Marathon County. I was able to find some money through the Leaders Organization and then couple that with funding from Wood County to make it a 1 FTE position serving both Wood and Marathon counties. There's a lot of overlap in that Marshfield area for programming, and so it's going to be a great fit to help. It's an annual position. It's a 1-year commitment for sure, and I'm guessing it's going to continue at least knock on wood, everything holds serve with finances. So that's great. It gives us some added capacity. And then I just learned that the Leaders Organization not only said, hey, we'll give you money for a position, but we still want to fund our summer interns. So we'll be adding some additional staff. And so we're very thankful that the Leaders Organization has taken advantage of some of their savings over the last couple of years of the unfortunate, let's make some lemonade out of the lemons, right? So lemons were COVID restrictions and not being able to do some of the programming that they were used to conducting, and then funneling it back into the program via staffing to then, kind of supercharge the program coming out of it. So the other staffing update I want to just kind of make you aware of is we've been approached by the State Extension Natural Resources Program about a position that is going to be helping with the EPIC watershed. There's conversations with CPZ and Paul Daigle, as well as us, about providing some in-kind office space for a staff member. There would be, they would come in with all their own technology, and it's basically an opportunity for us to have an extra person working on behalf of the county, working on targeted projects with CPZ. So I think it's an added benefit to the county with our partnership with Extension that we're able to bring in another person. It'd be up to 2 days a week through some USDA grants and some other natural resources funding that they procured regarding community watershed projects, and EPIC being the foundational one for Marathon County. So that's a great asset there. So we're adding staff to Extension and leveraging your investment to bring additional resources here. So always exciting when we can do that. The things in the report that I just want to highlight, you'll see that the pesticide applicator training has reached 75 participants, and that continues to grow. There was a moratorium, I shouldn't say moratorium, there was a pause on certifications during the pandemic, and we're seeing the backlog of that coming forward. So Heather and our staff have been engaged with a lot of PAT sessions because it's a DATCAP requirement, and we're the educational partner with DATCAP to deliver that program. And that has to do with those that are private applicators, not your large industrial ones, but your local farms that are applying their own pesticides, and they have to go through a certification process, and we're the ones that deliver that program. So I'm guessing we'll probably reach in that 130 category or more by the time it's a full day program, and there are certain things with spacing that we've been able to do and been trying to bounce around to different parts of the county as we can. So partnering with like Taylor County to bring something to the western side of the county, and do some local here in Wausau, but also to outreach areas too. So there's a program that Foodwise is working with Hmong families that are in domestic violence situations and getting them the resources that they need to make their own food, and as one of those things as they go back into society as a result of domestic violence. So that's a new opportunity that we're engaging in that respect. And then the last thing, Hort is involved in a gardening series, and especially with vulnerable populations. That's a Hort therapy. So I want to make you aware of that. That is continuing. There's been conversations already about the Gaining Grounds Garden on Thomas and Grand Avenue, along with our teaching garden at the Extension office with veterans, and continue to expand that programming. And again, we were making huge strides with our Hort educator, Brianna Wright, for about a year and a half, and then she moved back to Wyoming, and Janelle picked up, and then 2020, Safer at Home, et cetera. So we're coming out of that stronger with some new partnerships. We haven't done things with veterans for a while, but it's a win-win. So working with the Veterans Office, that kicked off in the fall. We're going to pick that back up in the spring. So just a couple other updates that you see in your packet, and also some staffing updates. So.
All right, thank you very much. Comments or questions on our extension report for this month? Not hearing any. Yeah, I'm very interested to hear about that new position partnering in at CPZ. That sounds like that could be a really interesting new way to, like you said, get value out of our extension relationship.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm super excited about it too. I was just made aware of it actually, so it's like fresh. Actually, I had a conversation with Rebecca Powers from the Natural Resources Institute. Before she called me, she talked to Paul Daigle, and Paul's like, this is a win-win if we can either in CPZ or an extension. It's really going to be integrated with Epic and some other things. And I think it's going to be an opportunity, again, so there's some grant dollars involved, and there's potential to build that out. Maybe not with that person, but in the future with maybe a full-time FTE. So yeah, really excited about that too.
Well, that's good. Now I know that Paul just announced his retirement, so hopefully we can get that done before he
I did not know that.
Yep. So, but okay. Well, thank you as always for the work you and your team is doing. They are all crazy busy all the time. And I know I'm getting stir crazy because I was reading the Hort update about the gardening classes going, I don't really garden, but I kind of want to. That's so 'tis the season. But all right. Well, thank you again. And with that, we will move on to our next update. And that brings us to, I guess I should say it officially, in case anybody has joined us. That's item 6B4, UW Stevens Point, Wausau campus. And I see Anne is patiently waiting to give her update. So go ahead.
Yep, I am here. And it is seed catalog season, isn't it? When we all sort of longingly think about summer. So my report is included in the packet, and I really didn't have too much to add other than I was grateful to see so many folks there to meet with Chancellor Gibson when he addressed the board on February 17th. I told you he's a good egg, and I hope that came through. And he's also somebody that's got a real vision for the campus and a real interest in growing the campus. So I hope that came through when he spoke to the board. The only other things to maybe draw your attention to in the report are the new bachelor's degrees, which he mentioned at the board meeting, which I was a little bit surprised at because we hadn't quite rolled those out yet, but he mentioned them. So we're going with it. Early childhood ed and accounting bachelor's degrees. So that brings us up to, I think, 6 bachelor's degrees at the Wausau campus now. And then we are also hiring a math professor. So that's a good sign of the investment in the campus. It does also remind me of the sort of wage issue that came up earlier, because maybe despite your assertion, Sarah, they're not rolling in dough when they become a mathematics professor. maybe at the Madison campus.
No, I'm guessing they're making more than $12 an hour, though.
They are making more than that, yes. But I would say it's maybe a marginal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then maybe the only other reminder is that our Hank Talks are coming up, Sarah. So don't forget the science fiction talk. That's on, I think it's the 16th of March.
Yes, it is. And you remembered that I mentioned that those are nerdy.
15th. The 15th, yep.
So.
And then there's the James Webb talk that's April 19th. I mean, where we're really hitting the nerds on this one.
Yes, once again, I had to message my husband and say, oh, they're doing the James Webb Space Telescope too. So hopefully there's enough other people in the community that are as excited as we are. But thank you. So any questions for Anne on either the verbal or written updates? So I'm hearing in the room, no, but you're doing a good job. So, and I think I would be remiss if I didn't thank you for your kind comments at the end of the written report. That was very nice of you, and I will also miss working with the committee and, UWs and at least in this capacity. I'm not disappearing here. You're not going to get rid of me completely that easily. So, but yeah, this is great information. As always, exciting to see things rolling forward at the UW campus. So, and with that, it doesn't look like there's any other questions, so I will move forward on the agenda. That brings us to item 7, next meeting time, location announcements, and future agenda items. I actually want to preface this one by letting the committee know that I have a conflict for our next month's meeting date. So I am putting that out there now to ask if there are topics that the committee wants to cover, or if there's any topics that our partners that are in the meeting right now anticipate needing to bring forward to next month's committee for discussion. Because if there are, then I want to make sure that we get that, that we have that prepared and having a quorum. Otherwise, there is the possibility that we may not need to meet. It's also after the election, so it's going to be in kind of that weird, that weird phase that we have in April around here before the official meeting. So I welcome thoughts on if committee members have items or partners have items that they definitely want to make sure we have. Otherwise, I'll keep monitoring. I'm not canceling the meeting at this point, but I did just want to put it out there that I don't have any immediate time-sensitive items that would require decisions or action at this time. And I don't know, Lance, you haven't brought anything to me yet. So, any thoughts from committee members not in the room, who I can't see the head shakes? Okay, then consider this the preliminary notice that at this time we don't have any action items for an April meeting, but if that changes, you will still see the agenda. So just watch for either an agenda or a meeting notice, cancellation notice at the usual time. So, and if you, as always, if you do think of something or have something hit your radar that you want us to bring to a meeting, let me know. Otherwise, it is, I guess, possible that this could be my last opportunity to chair this meeting now that I think about it. So just in case, I just want to thank everybody for allowing me to lead this group for the last 4 years for some of you. So it's been a pleasure. It's been a passion. I'm going to miss it. And please don't be strangers. I'm still working in the workforce development realm. That is my job. So I suspect we'll still be in touch in some capacity. I do transportation, and I know that's a big issue around here. So you may hear me coming back from a slightly different angle in the next few months, depending on what we can get rolling, so to speak. So with that, any final comments on the meeting as far as future discussion points? All right, then hearing none, we are at item 8.
Sarah?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Gary. I have a question for Administrator Leonard regarding Farm City dinner tonight. Does Marathon County have a table, and are all the chairs filled, or where are we at with that?
I do not believe that all the seats are filled, but I believe those tickets have been provided to Chair Gibbs. I will pass along your request for information to Chair Gibbs.
If I come to the meeting, can I sit at the table?
I will have Chair Gibbs reach out to you. I'm not going to be attending, so I'll make sure he gets back to you.
Okay.
Well, and if you go, have fun for the rest of us. All right, any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, then I will again look to get a motion for adjournment. We have a motion. We'll give the motion to Supervisor Seefeld and the second to Supervisor Rosenberg. All in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you all very much and have a wonderful evening.